So what I want people to know, the first thing we're going to look at is the document that Antifa has created specifically for distribution at the No Kings protest that's coming up this weekend. Now, again, as a reminder, Antifa is not the organizer of the No Kings protest. The organizers of the No Kings protest are a completely separate organization. They are a progressive organization. They're not even a far leftist organization. However, Antifa is going to piggyback on what they're doing to show up to try to radicalize more people. And how generous of them, they published the propaganda that they're going to be handing out at the protest on their website. So, one of the things that I want people to see about this, actually, the first thing I want people to see, and I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat. You guys can just look at it directly. For people who are new to my work, I do everything extremely transparently. All my information is public on the internet. I will always give you access to finding the information directly for yourself. So one of the things, yo, Trendolin! Thank you, Trendolin. I appreciate it. Are you going to try to get me to play the Penguin song or something? Thank you, Trendolin. Trendolin is a regular on the channel. You guys will get used to her. She's kind of a pain in the ass, but that's all right. She just gave me $50, so I'll be nice to her for the moment. Thank you, Trendolin. I appreciate you. Don't you dare make me play that Penguin song. I'm not going to do it. Anyway, one of the things I want you guys to see about this document, and actually just go into the PDF, there is nothing on this document that identifies an organization. This is a pure piece of propaganda to try to get people to think in a certain way, to radicalize them against the Democratic Party. I promise you, Antifa thinks that the people that are showing up at these No Kings protests over the weekend, Antifa thinks that these are Democrats and liberals that can be radicalized to move further left. That's why they're doing this. And you're going to see this when we read this document. But the purpose of this document is not to say, hey, come join us in Antifa. Here is where we meet. That's not what they're doing. The purpose of this document is to plant seeds. It's to plant the ideas. Because if you look at the PDF, and again, they distribute this for people to print out and hand out themselves at these protests, there's nothing identifying the organization that put this together. There's literally nothing on the document identifying the organization. Because the purpose is not the identity of the organization. They probably don't even want people to know that this is from Antifa. The purpose is to plant the idea. But if you're at one of these protests and you get handed one of these flyers, I want you to know where it came from, and I want you to have some context for what it says. So if you see one of these things, you just talk to Antifa, bro. Congrats. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to have my handy dandy AI voice reader read this for us. And we're very lucky that every time Antifa publishes something on their website, they actually put the full text just on their website too. So we have the document, we have the PDF, but I'm going to have our handy dandy voice thing, not that. Come on, natural reader. There we go. I'm going to have my handy dandy voice thing read this for us, and we're going to do commentary. All right. So, no, the left is not insane. I understand why you think that, and this is going to be a common question I get. Guys, listen. I'm being deadly serious. I've been studying the left for years in depth. I have been in their organizations. I've been in their meetings. I've been in their subculture. I know the left as well as they know themselves. The left is not insane. They're not mentally ill. They're not lazy. They are highly organized. They are highly strategic. They are highly effective in their tactics. And I know you don't think that because you think they're Democrats, probably, but you have got to understand that the real far left are not Democrats or liberals or progressives. They hate Democrats and liberals and progressives. The people causing all the chaos, the people causing the riots, the people causing the violence, the people setting things on fire, they did not vote for Kamala Harris. They don't believe in participating in elections. And so it is, I understand, a completely different mindset. No, they're not mentally ill. Every single time you guys say that they're mentally ill, you dismiss them and they make more progress. Please, I am begging you to stop doing this. Do you want to know why the left keeps winning even when they lose elections? Because right now, guys, the left are controlling the entire country with these protests. Everyone understands that, right? There are so many new people here because the left is doing what they're doing, because they're being highly strategic. And every single time you guys say they're mentally ill, you're allowing them to make more progress. You're allowing them to operate completely unopposed. This is why they keep making progress. So I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad. I understand where these talking points come from. I really, really, really do. Well, are they delusional? Because they're controlling the entire country right now. They're controlling the protests. They're controlling the police officers. They're controlling ICE. They're controlling the Trump administration. They're getting Trump to send out you guys got to stop, breathe, slow down, okay? Just because someone sees something very differently than you do doesn't mean they're insane. And I say this as someone, people might think I'm being sympathetic to the left. I'm not. I hate the left. I don't want the left to win. I am desperate for the left to know. I don't want to live in a Marxist utopia. I don't think you want to live in a Marxist utopia either. So can we please? Anyway, let's get into this and let's read their document. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have the AI read the text on this page here, which is exactly the same as in the document. And let's see what Antifa wants people to know. I'm going to start. Hopefully this works. Pray it works. It's not going to work, is it? Never works when I need it to. Play.
It is fascism. Start acting like it.
There it is.
Yes, Trump probably has a master plan to use riots to justify military occupation. And just like his master plan to use tariffs to bring back jobs, it is completely idiotic. They believe they can beat and intimidate us into submission. But this will backfire. If every city in America fought like the angels on the first nights of the LA uprising, the regime wouldn't stand a chance.
Listen to what they're talking about. If every city in America fought like the angels on the first night of the LA uprising, the regime wouldn't stand a chance. They're already putting an iconic status around what happened in Los Angeles. This is exactly what they did in 2020. In 2020, they call the BLM riots of 2020 the George Floyd uprising or the George Floyd rebellion. And they're doing the same thing here. They're calling it the Los Angeles uprising.
If every city in America fought like the
Hang on. Guys, listen. I know there are a lot of new people in the chat. I know you guys are all really excited. I see that there are a lot of questions in the chat. Can everyone just hold on to their questions so we can review this document? And you're welcome to ask questions about the document specifically, but if you have questions or comments that are not related to the document, can we please just, I'm not saying I'm not going to answer them. I'm saying put them in your back pocket for a second because we need to be able to analyze this document to know what's going on. I do want to just take one question. No, Marxist ideals are not seen on the right. Listen, if anyone here believes James Lindsay's woke right bullshit, can I just confirm for everyone? I have debunked James Lindsay's work many, many, many times over using real evidence from the real far left. There's no Marxism going on the right. There's no woke right. All of that it's nonsense. You will learn to see this once you come spend time on my channel. But focus on the document. How you're going to learn about the left is by focusing on the evidence right in front of us. And again, asking questions related to this. And then if you have separate questions about the left, I can do those after. No. We do not engage in conservative bullshit here. No. The woke right is not real. If you're not here to learn, go somewhere else. And now we're going to focus on this.
If every city in America fought like the angels on the first nights of the LA uprising, the regime wouldn't stand a chance. The decisive moment has arrived. Trump has deployed active duty Marines to Los Angeles and threatened to use equal or greater force across the country if people dare to resist his agenda. The Democratic Party, the courts, and all the existing institutions of government have failed. The law is now Trump's weapon, and the police, you see, DHS, FBI, the National Guard, the Marines, whatever, all of them are now his foot soldiers.
Okay, I want people to read this. The Democratic Party, the courts, and all existing institutions of government have failed. This is Antifa telling you they believe the Democratic Party has completely failed. This is the message that they want to send to Democrats and liberals and progressives at this protest. They're trying to plant the seed. The Democratic Party has failed you. The Democratic Party has failed you. Look at that shitty presidential candidate. They get Kamala Harris. Are you kidding me? They hated Kamala Harris, by the way. Because Kamala Harris is a cop. Far left revolutionaries hate cops. So they hated Kamala Harris. And so they didn't vote for her. I don't want to see anyone in the chat saying they still voted for her. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They really didn't. They're trying to get people to radicalize, to go farther left, and to leave the failed Democratic Party. Exactly. Yes. Yes. The Democratic Party is not radical enough for them, not by a long shot.
The law is now Trump's weapon, and the police, you see, DHS, FBI, the National Guard, the Marines, whatever, all of them are now his foot soldiers. This is fascism. You know it. Now is the time to start acting like it. The regime will not be swayed by empathy with peaceful protesters or opinion polls or the threat of a blue wave in the midterms. That is no longer the country we are in.
Okay. The regime will not be swayed by empathy or peaceful protesters or opinion polls or the threat of a blue wave in the midterms. There's a lot in that sentence. Actually, let me make this, maybe I can make this bigger so you guys can see it better. That's probably a better idea. You can see right here. Can I move you? No, of course I can't move the thing I want to move. The regime will not be swayed by empathy with peaceful protesters or opinion polls or the threat of a blue wave in the midterms. They're trying to tell people peaceful protests are not going to achieve our goals. They're trying to tell people elections will not achieve our goals. This is really important for people to understand. There are two types of activism on the left. There's reformists and there's revolutionaries. Reformists want to work within the current system. So an organization like the Democratic Socialists of America, who, by the way, Antifa hates the Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA with AOC and Bernie Sanders and all that stuff. The Democratic Socialists of America are reformers. They want to work within the current electoral system to make small incremental changes that they hope will lead to a more socialist society over time. Antifa are revolutionary communists. They do not believe in elections. They do not participate in elections. They do not run candidates for elections. Even when there are political parties among revolutionary communists, they are under no illusion. They're not going to win an election. That's not the purpose of the political party. So, for example, the Party for Socialism and Liberation, it's a political party. Technically, they do run candidates. They ran a presidential candidate last election cycle. But the purpose of organizations like the Party for Socialism and Liberation or the Revolutionary Communists of America is that they are giving people a social system to join. They're giving them a club, okay? They're saying, come be part of our club, come to our events, come show up and do protests with us, come do activism with us. They're giving them something to join so that when the revolution comes, and these groups kind of think the revolution might be starting right now, when the revolution comes, they already organized and they're already in a group. So what we're talking about here, when they're talking about the threat of a blue wave is not going to get us to where we want to go, they're flat out telling you we don't participate in elections. This is not electoral change. They want to violently overthrow the current system, and they're trying to radicalize other people to also want to violently overthrow the current system.
That is no longer the country we are in. When the law becomes the weapon of tyrants, we are all above the law. That is what it means to say the people are sovereign. Disruptive, courageous action is our only chance. The first days of the Los Angeles uprising showed us what effective action looks like. Not an army with guns, but everyday people collectively dismantling police equipment, preventing IC and the cops from enforcing Trump commands. In a democracy, you vote a president out. In fascism, you prevent the dictator's functionaries from carrying out his will.
Okay, isn't this interesting? They're saying we're not going to bring well, I'm sure some of them do have guns, by the way. It is by the way incorrect to think that the left doesn't have guns. The left absolutely has guns, but they're saying an effective army isn't showing up and just like brandishing weapons. An effective army in this case is preventing Trump from doing what Trump wants to do. This is the goal of this. This has always been Antifa's goal. Antifa's been talking about attacking ICE facilities, disrupting deportation operations since weeks after Trump got elected. All right. So they're telling you their strategy is that they want to prevent the dictator's functionaries, ICE in this case, from carrying out his will. Their goal is to disrupt the deportations. Because if in their minds, if they're disrupting the deportations, they're disrupting fascism.
In fascism, you prevent the dictator's functionaries from carrying out his will. A king is only a king when his wish is your command. When the people refuse to let his wishes come true, he becomes a clown. Now, this is the best chance we have to topple this regime. If we wait, they will consolidate control of education and the media. They will
Guys, if we don't do this now, the Trump regime is going to consolidate control of all education in the media. They're trying to scare people to get them into action.
They will rewrite history and churn out a generation of loyalists. In the months and years to come, it will only get harder to fight for freedom. A warning. We're being told that disruptive demonstrations are just playing into Trump's hands by giving him a pretext for military dictatorship. The regime doesn't need a pretext. They will invent whatever reasons they want to justify what they are going to do.
So I want to emphasize this. So there was a lot of reporting yesterday about how some of these groups are making a special effort to get American flags. Have people heard about this? So obviously, all of these really bad images for their side came out of the Los Angeles protests and riots, which is a bunch of Mexicans and illegal immigrants waving Mexican flags. Like, this was not a good look, right? And mostly the people who were doing that were the immigrant rights groups. They were the immigrant groups and the people specifically focused on that issue. So after all of these pictures went viral with the Mexican flags, they said, maybe we should be getting some American flags and waving those. Maybe those would be better optics. Well, I said at the time, I said, that's not Antifa. Those are the immigrant groups. Someone asked earlier, can you help us tell the difference between the groups? Here's one of the tells. If someone is waving an American flag, they are absolutely not Antifa. They are not revolutionary socialists. They are not revolutionary communists. You guys got to understand why I keep trying to tell you guys that they're not mentally ill is because far leftists see this as their whole identity. It is their entire world. People ask me all the time, Carlin, does the left really believe what they claim to believe? And I say, yes, they do. They believe it to the core of their soul. That's why they act the way they do. They literally believe that capitalism has created all problems in the world. Capitalism has created human suffering. They actually believe that capitalism is going to kill everyone because of climate change. We'll talk about that another day. But they really do believe that. They believe we are all literally going to die because of capitalism. Now, you might disagree with them, and it's okay to disagree with them, but this is about learning how to think like them. If you believe that everyone in the world is literally going to die because of an oppressive ideology, are you going to do everything you can to try to stop that oppressive ideology? That's what the left is doing. They very literally believe that they are going to die if they do not overthrow what they call the capitalist US government. They call the Constitution the capitalist US Constitution. So for that reason, they literally believe that is the ultimate enemy for them. They are never going to fly an American flag. It's not going to happen because to them, the American flag represents capitalism. It represents every single thing that is wrong with the world, every problem that has ever made them suffer. They are never going to fly that flag. And what they're saying here is, we don't care about optics. That's what they're saying. We're being told that disrupted demonstrations are just playing into Trump's hands by giving him a pretext for military dictatorship. The regime doesn't need a pretext. They will invent whatever reasons they want to justify what they're going to do. They're saying, we don't care about optics. So this is one of the ways that you can tell Antifa from other groups, because it's the immigrant groups that are waving the American flags. It's Antifa that's burning the American flag on the ground. Everyone understand the difference? No, they don't do that. You're not listening. You're not listening. Guys, you've got to look at the left as they are. Stop trying to fit the left into your narrative and your talking points. You are never going to understand the left if you try to take them and twist them to fit into the worldview that you have. A lot of you think you understand the left and you don't. That's not your fault. It's the fault of your influencers. But like you're going to have to unlearn a lot of things if you're going to understand the left truly and sincerely. Let's see. I had a member chat from Maria. Thanks, Maria. Back in 2018, I used to say, of course I'm Antifa. I'm an anti-fascist. And that's when I got out of the DSA. I was their target audience for recruitment. Yes, you were. Yes, you were. 100%. You were not radical enough for them in the DSA, but they tried to convince you to be an anti-fascist because you were, of course, against fascism. Maria's a former leftist, of course. All right, let's keep going.
They will invent whatever reasons they want to justify what they are going to do. Peacefully making our voices heard will do nothing to stop them. They don't care. You know this. With judges and politicians unable or unwilling, it is up to us to stop the fascist machine.
The judges and politicians are unable to stop the fascist regime. They don't think those judges that are going against Trump are doing enough.
The opening moves of the LA uprising shows how to stop it. It began with people refusing to stand by during an ICE raid and surrounding ICE agents. It moved to burning their cars, throwing rocks and fireworks at the police.
So now they're saying, listen, we've already given you guys the game plan. Okay, so here's what's happening here. Antifa's got these flyers. They're going to go around to the No Kings protests all over the country and hand out these flyers, not just in LA. They're going to do this everywhere. They're telling the people who are reading these flyers, listen, we already gave you a game plan to push back against Trump. They're trying to subtly say, we already told you what to do. We already showed you what to do. The opening moves of the LA uprising shows how to stop it. It began with people refusing to stand by during an ICE raid and surrounding ICE agents. It moved to burning their cars, throwing rocks and fireworks at the police. They're telling people what to do. They're trying to get this to spread to other cities by saying, you guys can literally just look at what we did in Los Angeles and do that in Minneapolis, Boston, New York, Atlanta, Columbus, Ohio, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Phoenix, Arizona, Austin, Texas, whatever city you want. That's what they're doing.
This is not new. You remember the summer of 2020.
Oh!
The George Floyd rebellion opened with a police precinct burned, cop cars disabled, corporate stores looted across the country. It was only after weeks of riots that this memory was publicly erased and it was turned into a largely nonviolent movement. This was its defeat. We are in this mess now because we didn't dismantle the police state then. Fighting back.
Wait, look at this. We are in this mess now because we didn't go far enough in 2020. We didn't dismantle the police state in 2020. It's actually up to about 2,000 cities now. The 1,400 is an old number. I know where you got it though, but it's up to about 2,000 cities. So they're telling people we should have defunded and abolished the police when we had a chance in 2020. And the reason that we are suffering this horrible fascist dictatorship now is because we didn't do enough back then. Average person in with a super chat. Love seeing lots of new people. Debunking accomplishes nothing. Just listen and soak in the info. We're going to have to train a lot of new people not to debunk the left. That's all right. You know what? I'm thrilled as well with how many new people are here. Guys, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel. If you are not already, I stream Monday through Friday doing stuff exactly like this. I will show you the real far left. I'll show you what they're talking about, what they're doing, their videos, their trainings, all that stuff. I hope you'll come join us. We also do Socialism Saturdays on Saturdays at 6 p.m. And hopefully we'll have some protest coverage to watch this Saturday.
Fighting back is collective strategic intelligence. Tyrants are nothing without police to carry out their commands. Police are nothing without their tools, and guns are the least of them. It is their cars, cameras, stations, and the toys of tech fascist companies like Palantir, Flock, G4S, and others that create the illusion of their total power.
Yo, we just had Nick give some memberships on the channel. Let's see. Russell got a membership. Zoom got a membership. Doctor got a membership. Level On Up got a membership. Amy got a membership. Welcome to channel membership, guys. I really, really do appreciate the support, Nick. Thank you. So what they're saying here is, guys, this isn't just about the guns. We want to destroy the police cars, the police cameras, the stations, the toys of technology. Again, they're giving their playbook. Here are the things that we need to get rid of.
We know from the summer of 2020 that masses of people can make quick, easy work of THS illusion. We win not by appealing to the ruler's conscience, but by dismantling the machines and companies that enable their rule. Peaceful demonstrations, to be effective, need to be part of this overall disruptive movement, refusing to condemn those who take risks on all of our behalf, hanging banners in support of them, and insisting that normal life cannot be continued until the regime falls.
Okay, so they're saying, and again, remember, this is to hand out at the No Kings protest. Peaceful demonstrations are only going to be effective if they're part of a larger disruptive movement. So Antifa is basically saying, guys, we're dictating the terms here. You are underneath our umbrella. All you progressives, that's all real nice that you want to do these speeches and stuff like that, and you want to make sure that you're doing non-violent action or stuff like that. They're saying, no, your peaceful protests are nice, but they only work when they're part of a larger disruptive umbrella. And then they're saying, if you refuse to take part in that disruptive umbrella, then you are literally supporting the fascist regime. You should be encouraging us. You should be hanging banners on our behalf. You should be supporting us exactly like that. Everyone, does that make sense to everyone?
Hanging banners in support of them and insisting that normal life cannot be continued until the regime falls. They will call it chaos. They will call it insurrection. They will use it to justify more force. And then they will lose because they cannot govern America by force alone. They require our cooperation, our obeying in advance, our submission to their unjust peace. When we withdraw it and become an obstacle to their power, they lose.
Okay, so Antifa are anti-assimilationists. They have no intention of assimilating their tactics to creating just a nice, peaceful society. They're prepared. Isn't it funny? They said, listen, guys, the Trump people, they're going to call us insurrectionists. And you know what? We don't care. So this is actually a lesson for conservatives. You know, if you guys want to call them insurrectionists on Twitter, you know, go ahead, I guess. But Antifa's saying, listen, we know what you're going to do. You're going to try to say we're insurrectionists. And in return, we're going to tell you to fuck off. And we're going to keep doing what we want to do. They're not going to stop, guys. This is I think one of the biggest points I want new people to understand. This is not going to go away because these people are radicalized, militant, true believers to their cause, and they don't care what you have to say about it. They don't care about memes. They don't care about the owning the libs talking points on Twitter. They don't care if all the talking heads are posting videos of them denouncing them. They don't care. And you don't have to agree with them. And I know no one here probably agrees with them, but you have to understand they're not going to turn this off. This doesn't turn off once they get started.
When we withdraw it and become an obstacle to their power, they lose. If we fight, we will win. In a dictatorship, we are not citizens with rights. We are earthlings, being threatened with extinction by a small group of psychopaths. We have a choice. We are either under Trump's rule, or we are above all his laws. All acts of resistance to tyranny are acts of community self-defense. What is at stake now are the lives and freedom of those we love. It is time to act like it.
All right. That is the end of the flyer. I want to just comment on these last two sentences. All acts of resistance to tyranny are acts of community self-defense. They believe they're defending themselves. And I know you're like, that's obviously not happening, Carl, and they're obviously the aggressors. Well, yeah, they are. But in their heads, they believe to the core of their souls that they are being oppressed by this fascist system, and their actions will be based on that belief. It won't be based on your beliefs. It'll be based on their beliefs. They believe that what is at stake is the lives and freedom of everyone they know and love. They believe that this oppressive system will literally kill them all. And again, we don't need to agree with them to say, if someone truly believes that, if this person is a zealot, as these people are, then they are going to act in accordance with that belief. And that's going to dictate violent bullshit and nonsense for the entire summer. So this is the flyer that they're handing out at the No Kings protest. The purpose is to radicalize Democrats and leftists to become more leftist and more militant and more violent. It's not to get them to join Antifa because there's no indication of who's handing this out. But, they assume that if you get more radicalized, you'll find them eventually. So that's thing number one that we're going to look at, I hope, is how's everyone feeling? Is everyone terrified? How are you guys feeling in the chat? What do you think about this? Is this the first time people have ever seen Antifa documents before? I would be especially interested to hear from new people.